Welcome into the Outspoken Network. Uh, Hosts tonight gonna be Craig and Brian, or Craig and Jeff. Um,
What's going on?
how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Just nervously watching this playoff stuff. So
Right, right. A little climactic there all of a sudden.
yeah,
Um, we're gonna cover the NFL trades that have just went down. This week's upcoming schedule, and of course, we will touch on the MLB as it's going right now. We've got a barn burner in Cleveland as we speak, and then we'll touch on the Dodgers and the Mets as well. Um, what you what do you think about these trades that have gone down here, Jeff?
I mean it's kind of exactly like what we kind of thought.
Right.
Especially for sure one of them, the Adams deal that went on. It was kind of a foregone conclusion that he might
Just a
go to the
matter of where he
Jets.
was going to go.
Yeah, I mean there was a possibility of the Saints. Him headed there. There was a possibility of the Jets because of the familiarity.
Well, there's also
And every
talk of the Lions with a package deal of him and Crosby both
yeah,
going together, and Crosby's still there, so we'll see if he gets moved.
yeah. So it's been that particular trade. I even said I'm like if he had I don't know if he had a did he have a no trade clause or not.
I don't really know, but I think he really had some say
He
in
did,
where he
yeah.
went, whether or not he had one or not. I believe he had some say in where he went.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that if he would have gone somewhere else, they may have even uh, gotten a couple of players. I mean,
Right.
they would have had maybe a bigger deal
Right.
out of that. But he went to the Jets. I think Adams is happy. I can assume Aaron Rodgers will be happy to have his guy, but it's also going to draw attention to him. So
Right.
this may open up other avenues in the offense, but I think it makes sense. I mean, it's one of those where it's the weirdest thing because you're just like you kind of know where he might be best.
Right.
So
And I mean, he's already going to play this week without knowing any of the deal. He said basically the familiarity with Rodgers and they run the same kind of offense, so he's already going to play this week. The hamstring miraculously is healed, and he's going to jump on the field and play already. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I didn't like Rodgers calling out his guys the other day about he didn't run the right route in the last game, and he's like, well, I mean, he was supposed to be on the line, he wasn't on the line. I don't. That's not what we do. I mean, that's not a great look when you lose a game is you pawn it off on your wide receiver running the wrong route or whatever.
well, and the thing about it is this is what Rogers done. Like
Right.
he loved Nathaniel Hackett for so long. Now Nathaniel Hackett's kind of a problem. It's just like the coach is gone. Like, and they had some interesting sideline stuff going on. So him calling out players, I'm just like, yeah, it's just
Well,
seems like that's a Rogers for sure. It's
yeah, and it's
easily,
crazy because um, they fire Salah when it looks like Salah wanted to take the play calling away from Hackett, and then
mhm.
all of a sudden now it looks like they're going to do that, and well, why was Salah fired? Because it looked like Salah was fired because he wanted to take the stuff away from Hackett, and they said no, and now it looks like they're going to do it anyway. So why was I mean, it doesn't make sense now and why they let the head coach go.
Well, it just seems like a mess.
Right.
Even with Adams going there, it does still seem kind of like a mess situation going on.
Right. I don't
And
know if Adams going there fixes it.
yeah, I don't know if that does either. I think this season's going to be a kind of weird one for them. I kind of just is like maybe it's even a kind of a I don't know, maybe just a weird season where they maybe not make the playoffs or something. Like I don't know. It's just this. It
They're going
seems
to
to
be
me
on the
like
brink with some of the other teams that are struggling. The Bengals are struggling,
yeah,
and some other teams struggling. So there will be room if they can win some games and put some games
yeah,
together. But they really look dysfunctional in New York.
they do. Yeah, and when a team looks dysfunctional like that, it just doesn't it doesn't bode well. It kind of
No.
just it screams like the place is on fire, but we're just sitting here, like everything's good.
The
And
defense is good, but the
right,
offense can't get it together. Then
yeah,
the defense struggles, and the offense puts up some points. There just seems to be nobody leading the way,
and I don't like the fact that there's all these moving pieces shuffled around, and we're midway through, like almost midway through,
Right.
like, and that seems weird. It's so many moving pieces there.
It almost feels like they fired Saleh to take the light off of them and be like, well, if we don't make the playoffs, I mean, we had an interim coach and we had this, and it was almost like we're gonna fire this guy to just take all the pressure off. Now, if we don't make the playoffs, well, we fired a head coach, we had an interim guy. Now next year will be better. Like it's weird on the timing.
It is. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting show, that's for sure.
Right.
What is your take? I mean, do you ultimately think this is the better move for both players, or even for the organization itself, with the Jets? Or
I mean, I think it gives. I think that's what he wanted originally. I think he wanted to be with Rodgers when he left Green Bay. I think he went to the Raiders and was hoping that Rodgers would follow there, and that didn't happen. And then he played for a year, and he wasn't happy, and you really thought he would be dealt in the offseason, and he wasn't. And then he started pretty well this year. He had some pretty okay numbers, so you were like, all right, well, maybe he's going to make it work. And then all of a sudden, it was just dysfunction in the Raiders, and he has this mysterious hamstring injury, and then he just goes off the grid and doesn't show up to the facility, and the coach doesn't know his status, and so I think he basically just forced his way out. He basically just said, I'm not playing with you guys anymore. Find a way out. And so and I think that whole scenario in the Raiders organization, I think that guy is treading water over there. Pierce is not the right guy for that dysfunction over there. But yeah, basically I think Adams just basically forced his way out, and I think, like you said, even without a no trade clause, I think he had a hand in where he was going. Like,
I think so.
Always the plan was to go back and reunite himself with Rodgers. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah. So what's the what was the next biggest news in the NFL for our trades?
I think the biggest thing is the Amari Cooper to Buffalo, because that gives Allen I mean, we've talked about several times how we've talked about Buffalo had, like, they dismantled that team, and basically he's had nobody to throw the ball to, and I think this gives him a very, very viable. I mean, Amari Cooper is known for his route running, and I believe this gives Josh Allen a very, very big weapon over there in Buffalo. And with that division being in kind of turmoil, with Tua being hurt, the Dolphins not being as good as they are, the rest of the division being in shambles, I think this gives Buffalo a clear foot, hold on the division, and gives Allen some really, really much needed help in the wide receiver core.
Yeah, the Brown situation is strange. They he was. I mean, obviously, Amari Cooper. Maybe I think he still has a lot left. A little bit. I think that
he has a lot left. I mean, Cleveland is so dysfunctional right now that he needed out of there.
Right.
I mean, that was never good for him. And then the whole thing of Deshaun Watson, they don't know. It sounds like the head coach wants to pull him out as as a quarterback. But the owner and GM are like, nope, we're sticking with him. And so there's a whole lot of dysfunction in the Cleveland offense. And I think this gives Cooper a brand new start. And I think you see a lot of big numbers from him.
Yeah. And, the thing is, the other day, I mean, it was a few weeks ago, or I think it was a few games ago, actually, where Watson just completely
walked
Did he
off the
just
field.
did he just get all? I thought he quit. I thought he quit on the team, and I was like,
I mean,
what?
basically they took a penalty. It was 3rd and 1 or whatever, and they were going to go for it, or 4th and 1, they were going to go for it, and then there was a false start, and it looked like Watson just got frustrated and just walks off the field, and basically then they have to take a delay of game because they weren't going to use another timeout in that situation because they would have only been left with one. And Stefanski's just standing there on the sidelines going, "What are you doing?" And they ended up having to kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Whereas they were, inches away from getting a first down, and he just walks off the field with the time clock running down. He's just like, "Yeah, I'm not dealing with it." And there's so much dysfunction in Cleveland. I think Amari Cooper is happy to be out of there and to be with somebody like Josh Allen, and I think you're going to see his numbers skyrocket.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think the Bills are in a better situation than the Browns, especially with inner turmoil and who knows what's going on behind the scenes in Cleveland. So yeah, I mean, I think we can go into the whole Watson thing, but he's that's a whole other deal. But
I just never. I mean, I never liked him before the whole scandal thing. I was never a Deshaun Watson fan from the word go, and then he had the whole scandal with the massage scandal, and then you roll into he gets traded, and he gets hurt or suspended, and everybody that's played. I mean, Flacco took that same team to the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And here Deshaun Watson is, and he can't do anything. He can't move the football. I mean, they looked terrible all season.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, like, when it comes to everything, even with that whole contract that they signed him to, it was just It was kind of like okay. And then when you see the stuff they put together, I'm like, I mean, it seems like it should be all right. And he just, I don't know what it is, but I'm glad Amari Cooper's out of there.
And I think Amari's glad he's out of there.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So, well, what do we have left on our agenda?
The biggest story, especially here, is the Jerry Jones melting down and calling out the host on the radio station and basically telling him he's going to fire him even though they don't work for him. You can feel the tension, I believe, building in Dallas. And this is something you normally don't see from the owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys. He normally sugarcoats everything and makes it sunshines and daffodils. And I believe the pressure now is very real because he basically lost it in an interview and really basically tried to say, it ain't me, not my problem. I didn't. It's not the decisions I made, so I don't know who he's blaming it on, but it's not Jerry supposedly, and it's really caused a stir, especially here in Dallas.
So I didn't know what was going on until like the evening, like that evening, because I obviously I don't listen to it because I'm not over there, but I mean I could if I was, they have podcasts and stuff format too. But I did see mainly was through reactions of Cowboy fans that are on YouTube. And their reactions were just shock and frustration and just, some of them outright completely upset that he was even doing that, threatening people, threatening their job really, at one point. So I'm like, the whole point of him going on that is to answer tough questions about the Cowboy situation. Right. You came off a really bad loss. People want to know why, and that's not the first time that's happened this year. So they want to understand maybe what your mindset is, what you think should happen, or what you think needs to happen in order to get this back on track, right? And so are you going to go grab some pieces or some free agency, like maybe a couple pieces to kind of jumpstart the offense and get this going? And defense, I think you'll be fine. I just think that once you get the pieces healthy again, I think it'll be fine. But
it wasn't great there, even with Parsons and Lawrence. You still had the New Orleans loss. You still had
that's true.
Some of the worst running defense in football. But I mean those guys are there, and those two guys make your defense a lot better. Let's be honest.
Right. And they do. And I think, and again, things can change. Defenses can get better. They can kind of start running and clicking. Right. And so, I just think that when it comes to the offense, which is mainly trying to get some more weapons out there or something like that, even a running, a running back, so it's weird. And I don't understand why he goes on that show thinking they're not going to ask those questions.
Right.
After a loss like that. Now, I don't know if it was scheduled and he was like already going to do it, or
he's there every Tuesday and every Friday. He's there Tuesday in the morning and Friday in the afternoon. So
he knew it.
It's not like he just popped on,
right?
And they blasted him,
right?
You have to know that after a absolute decimating loss, the worst loss in since you've owned the team, there are going to be questions that ask you what your plan is going forward. And basically all these guys did was say, do you think that you undervalued the team that you're putting out there? Do you think you misjudged the talent you have? And you think you should have done more? And he lost it. And he lost it, and he's like, well, the decisions I made in the last week or 2 weeks or year, let's talk about the decisions I made 30 years ago. Jerry, we're not talking about 30 years ago. We're talking about the team you have right now. And I basically had told Brian before we started the year, they're not going into the year with Ezekiel Elliott and Rico Dowdle as the two running backs. They will go get either the guy that is in Kansas City now. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Or the guy they got from Minnesota. And they went and got the kid from Minnesota. But he's still sitting on the practice squad. You cannot tell me that he is worse than what you got. There's no way. And it's dumbfounding how you went and signed a running back and you're leaving him on the practice squad. It's absolutely dumbfounding. And I mean, to me, it just screams that they've quit on Mike McCarthy. And this would have been the time, the prime time. If you're going to move on from Mike McCarthy, now would have been the time to do it. You had a blowout loss. It shows the team quit. You have a bye week. You're going into the bye week. It gives whoever you put in as the interim coach, whether it be the defensive coordinator, whether it be someone else, it gives them time to re-spark and get everybody on the same page and move them forward. And he doesn't do it. And he doubled down Friday and said, "No, we're not changing coaches. We're not changing coordinators. We're not going to do anything. We like the team. I'm just worried about lining up against San Francisco." Well, I'm going to tell you how you're going to line up against San Francisco, Jerry, just like you did against Detroit. And it's going to look very, very similar. You're going to get blown out of the water, and you better figure it out. Now, do I think they still win 8 or 9 games? Yeah, with the schedule they have left, I still think they win 8 or 9 games. Is it enough to make the playoffs? I don't know. If Philadelphia really is as dysfunctional as they look, I think they might win 10 games because they might beat Philadelphia twice. But you better make some changes because right now you're completely one-dimensional and everybody knows it. Yeah. Nobody's scared of your run game, so they're all stacked in a dime defense. They're putting a safety over the top of CD. Lamb, and they're like, I'm going to let you beat us with somebody else. And they're not doing it. And that's why they can't score any points, because everybody's double teaming Lamb. They're not scared of the run game, and they're pinning their ears back, and they're coming after Prescott. You got 3 offensive linemen who were new to football this year. There's no continuity in the offensive line that you've had for the last year.
Which you need.
Right, which you absolutely need. They didn't play preseason together. They're all out here just doing individual things. The back end of the defense has gotten injured and just doesn't look near as good as it has in the past. Everybody's either banged up or just not playing to their potential. Diggs has looked horrible. The one kid that they had, this Carson, that looked great in the Cleveland game, well, he's been hurt ever since then. Bland has been hurt, and he probably will be back from the San Francisco game. That helps a little bit. You don't have any pass rush with Parsons and Lawrence out. You have 0 pass rush. So you're getting no pressure on the quarterback. You have struggled on the back end. You have no offensive continuity. The team is in shambles. You talk about Cleveland being in shambles. Dallas is worse off than Cleveland is, because at least Cleveland puts the same people out there every week. And Dallas, you don't know what you're going to get. But I'm going to tell you right now that I'll be interested to see. I would be shocked if they don't make the move on the practice squad and put the other running backs in and do something. They've got to make some kind of drastic move, or else the season will be a loss.
Well, and a lot of other things that some of the fan base was bringing up, especially on some of their YouTube clips that I was watching, and some of them were reacting to the interview itself after the fact. So they were watching it and listening to it and then reacting to the things being said. You know, one of the things, there's a main guy who has a channel who's like one of the biggest cowboy YouTuber guys. And he kind of nailed it a lot of times. Last year, I remember him getting very upset during the trade deadline area, where you try to go and grab some pieces to kind of push the team in a direction, you know, to win some more games or fire them up or spark stuff. Right. Just anything to kind of give you, you know, an extra oomph going into the latter part of the season. He said the same thing this time. As that was happening, days later, he's like, why didn't we try to bring Mari Cooper back?
Right.
Like, why didn't we do that? You know, with looking at what Buffalo gave up, you're like, really? I mean, so, you know, he's familiar with the team. He's familiar with the organization.
He could have walked right in. And
he could have entered. Yeah. No problems. You know, I mean, so, you know, that was frustrating to some of the fans, and I get it. I'd be frustrated as well. You know, it's just like, I don't.
It wouldn't be as big of a deal, but the whole offseason in the all-in thing, he goes and makes this big production and says he's all in and makes everybody excited, and all it is to get people to talk about the Dallas Cowboys. That's all. And I would almost be willing to bet that the reason he did what he did on Tuesday was to take the focus off of what the bad. And what did he do? When he harassed the radio fans, what does it do? Twitter blows up, social media blows up, other radio stations are talking about it, all the newscasts started talking about it, and what does it do? It makes people talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and that is all Jerry Jones has cared about.
Yeah.
For the entire time of owning them. As long as people are talking about the Dallas Cowboys, and they got blown out 45-6. Want to know how many people were there? 75,000 or whatever Jerry World holds for a football game. They were sold out. And as long as you keep filling the gates, and as long as you keep buying the merchandise, what does he care?
He doesn't.
And that's what's clear about it.
one of the things that YouTuber was talking about is he's watching the game, and then at one point they kind of showed Jerry talking about F1 racing and that
Right.
coming to Dallas, and I'm kind of like, you don't care really, like honestly, all you care about is that you got FIFA coming in, you got
Right.
F1 racing going on over there, you have all these elements.
And you still have people coming in to see.
Right, yeah.
If there was 20,000 people with bags on their heads like there are in Cleveland, it would be a problem.
Yeah, it
but
would.
It's not. You still got everybody coming in.
He's making money.
Merchandise. He's nothing. He hasn't had to do anything because as a Dallas Cowboy fan, they still come through the gate. They still buy into what he's saying, and every year he just does the same thing.
It's kind of like waking up and you're just doing that clockwork. It's like, yeah,
right.
I came in and I did this and I left. I did this, left, did this, and you're not doing anything to kind of move up to the next level or improve. And I think maybe he's just sitting there just rolling through the motions. It's like, we lose. They still paid money to get tickets. Like, no big deal.
Right.
We have primetime games constantly.
Yep. It doesn't matter how bad they are. They still, when they were 1-15, they were still on Monday night 3 times, and on Sunday night, it happens all the time. And until somebody does something to hit him in the pocketbook, which is all he cares about, then he's going to continue to go down the same rabbit hole and do the same thing, and the team will never get any better.
Well,
and people say when he leaves, well, he needs to retire. Well, guess what, kids? Guess who's next?
His son.
Steven. And that apple didn't fall far from the tree. So if you think things are going to change when Stephen Jones takes over, I got news for you. Stephen Jones is the one doing all the contracts right now. And what is everybody's complaint? Is that they're paying people wrong and they're waiting too long to do contracts. Well, guess who's doing that? That's Stephen Jones.
Well, so and the other thing
changing when Stephen takes over.
And the other thing too is, like, in the offseason, it was like there were plenty of opportunities. One of the things that stood out to me was Derrick Henry.
100%.
And I was like, why? You had Derrick Henry come out and say, I want to play for Dallas. I would love to play for Dallas, blah, blah, blah. He has mentioned it before.
He basically said he knew he was going to have to pay Dak. He knew he was going to have to pay Lamb, and there wasn't enough money left over for Henry. Well,
but I mean, you paid Trey Lance.
That's what I'm saying.
And then all of a sudden you bring Zeke back, and I'm going,
right?
What?
Right. Yeah. Well, the Zeke deal was just here's you've done a lot for us. I'm going to bring you back so you can ride off into the sunset. Zeke retires after this year,
probably.
And it was just one. It's like they do in baseball where they sign the contract on the one day, and retire as a deal. They gave Zeke, hey, here's league minimum. Come back. We'll use you sparingly, and you can retire as a Cowboy. That was a deal. But you got Dalvin Cook, who you can't tell me is not better than Elliott or Dowdle or any of these guys that they're using. Why not at least give him a chance?
Yeah.
If he's really washed up, then he's washed up.
Well, and that's the thing.
Tell me that guy and the shape that he came in is no better than your practice squad. You can't tell me that.
And that's the thing is these questions should be asked to Jerry.
Right.
These things should be brought up.
Why did it take 6 weeks? That's what I want to know.
Well, yeah.
I want to know why it took 6 weeks.
And again, a lot of this is coming from frustration.
I've been saying the same thing from week 1. I was saying the same thing in the preseason.
Yep.
So it took Sean and RJ 7 weeks to ask that question. I'm shocked they didn't ask it week 1.
Maybe they wanted to, and I think maybe there was that hesitation, like he's going to blast us. Are we ready for that?
Just give it time. We'll let it come out, but then they get blown out of the water. I mean, and Sunday, I literally turned the game off at halftime and turned Tulsa King on. I was like, yeah, we're done with this. I'm done. I mean, and hopefully everybody does, because if the same thing's going to happen next Sunday when San Francisco, if you don't think for a second that San Francisco's going to roll them, even though San Francisco's had their own problems. You're wrong. There's no chance. They haven't beat San Francisco the last 2 years being fully healthy and winning 11 games. How are you going to do it when the team's in this condition?
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, a lot of this is it's just frustration from the fan base for all these years of just like
it's finally getting to where
it's
it
like
should be.
nearly 30 years of being frustrated about what's going on, and you should at this point there should be some signs of progression, not regression.
No other fan base that will allow what has happened in Dallas to be this long.
Exactly. And so yeah, I mean I get why he needs to be asked these questions, not just by 105.3 The Fan. Other media outlets need to be also talking to him because I know they also interview him. You got to be able to ask these same kinds of questions as well, so that he can't just attack those guys. He now has to attack everybody. So it's like to me, it's like this is exactly what the Cowboys organization needed. They needed somebody to put this guy's feet to the fire finally, and just start asking those tough questions that everybody in the fan base has been wanting to ask Jerry Jones all these years. So
yeah, no, I agree.
All right, well, so what do you want to talk about now? I think we're gonna we can transition, or do you want to still talk about this?
Well, we could preview into the weeks. There's a couple big games this weekend. You've got the 49ers and the Chiefs. I don't know if it's as big as a game as what it's being made up of last year's Super Bowl.
So Paul had a
right. Yeah. No, yeah, he's right. He's 100% right. We're. I mean, the Bears look better now than Dallas right now. But the ownership is just it's crazy.
Yeah.
What they're doing.
Shout out to Paul, by the way, at Bearski Film
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And I don't know if Brian's still on, but shout out to Brian as well. Hopefully he gets better. He's dealing with lost his voice there, I think. So, maybe that's not always a bad thing. No, I'm kidding, Brian.
Right. But you got the Chiefs playing the 49ers this week. I don't know if it's going to be as good a game as we hope it is. The Chiefs haven't looked like the world beaters that they have been in the past.
Nope.
But they are still 5-0, and the 49ers have struggled. They lose the lead to Arizona late there. They've had some injuries, but they're 3-2. So that will be the game of the day. Probably will be the 49ers and the Chiefs. I'm interested to see what the Lions do with the injury to Aiden Hutchinson, whether they go get somebody or whether they try to hold that steady and go with what they have. They've been tied to the Hassan Reddick of the Jets. They've been tied to Max Crosby from the Raiders. I don't know if they go and give up draft picks or capital for either one of those guys. But you hate to see a player like Aiden Hutchinson go down on a freak, on his own teammate, hit his leg.
I didn't see it. I don't want to see it.
No, and
I almost
wouldn't re-show it. I went and looked it up, and very weird. It almost looked like it broke when he planted in the turf, and then when he hit, I don't know if you've ever seen the UFC injuries where they shin kick people and the leg just wraps around, like the Anderson Silva deal and a couple other, injuries. Conor McGregor had the same where his leg folded. That's what it looked like. It looked like when he planted, it looked like the leg maybe broke, and then his leg went around, it was already like a spaghetti noodle and went around his offensive lineman, but he still makes the sack. So kudos to him on one leg sacking Dak Prescott.
And that's
I think this trade deadline is going to be one of in the NFL. You don't normally see this. In the NFL, you see one, maybe two. I just read before we came on that Alvin Kamara has told the Saints that he wants out. That's interesting. If you're Dallas, maybe go look at that.
Yeah.
Because that would absolutely trump your running back room. Sorry, Dalvin Cook. Maybe you're not going to be the answer if Alvin Kamara comes in, because Kamara's had a pretty good season up to this point. Not really sure what happened in New Orleans that Alvin Kamara would demand out, but it came from a pretty reliable source that he demanded a trade and was seeking one. So that'll be interesting. If Kamara moves, it'll be interesting to see what the Lions do.
And the trade deadline ends when?
I'd have to look that up because
it's
something that's not normally you don't get this many. You just don't normally
this many pieces moving around.
Not in the NFL.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, Dallas has got to do something. That is something to think about.
You would think so.
But so your game of the week.
So November 5th at 3:00 in the afternoon Central Time is the trade deadline. So you got about 2 weeks.
All right. That's going to be something to think about. I mean, there's going to probably be some big pieces moving, and we'll definitely be talking about that on here for sure.
Right.
So your game of the week is the is it the Chief game you said?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs and the Niners game is clearly. I mean, Dallas has a bye. The Bears have a bye. You really don't have
Broncos don't even play this. We already played Thursday, so. But yeah, it's I see that. I could see that. That might be a tune in to watch kind of deal. Maybe to see what the 49ers could do against the Chiefs. I do agree that the Chiefs have not been who they have been in the past, even in the last few years. Even last year, they were not as.
The other game to watch is the Vikings and the Lions. I mean, the Vikings are.
Yeah, I think so. That's going to be a good game.
Maybe.
That's going to be an interesting matchup there.
Yeah, that's a big divisional game right there.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks that Hutchinson goes down right before they play the Vikings. You've got the Patriots and the Jaguars. Please don't wake up early. That game's from London. So Titans play the Bills. Seahawks, Falcons, Dolphins, Colts, Texans, Packers could be good.
That could be good.
Yeah.
Fireworks.
Right. Yeah, that two pretty good teams there. Bengals, Browns, Eagles, Giants, Raiders, Rams, Panthers, Commanders. The Commanders have looked a whole lot better than I thought they would. I thought maybe
they lost last week, didn't they?
They did to the
Ravens,
close.
It was close. Yeah.
And they still didn't get blown out. They still had some positives in the game.
With a rookie quarterback, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. I mean, Jaden Daniels he's got 1,000 yards already. He's got 1,000 rushing yards. I mean, or not 1,000, but he's got rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns, got over 1,000 yards of passing. He's looked really, really good. And that defense has looked really, really good under Dan Quinn. Right now, they have to be the favorites for the NFC East because the Eagles are having their struggles. Dallas is having their struggles. The Giants are what they are. So they clearly, right now, have to be the front runners.
Yeah.
Now, do the teams start to figure out Daniels? I mean, you look at rookie quarterbacks once they start to get some tape on them. Maybe they struggle. But yeah, it'll be an interesting week.
It will, yeah.
The two biggest games are going to be the three biggest games are going to be the Chiefs and Niners, Texans and Packers, and Lions and Vikings. And I'm very interested to watch the Lions and the Vikings game.
Yeah.
Because that's for the first place in that division.
Yeah, that's gonna be a dogfight there. The other thing too is when it comes to the Packers and Texans, That's going to be possibly a high scoring game there.
Texas
Maybe
defense hasn't been as good as it was in the past.
I could see some fireworks going on in that. Like we're got
Texans offense struggles and then all of a sudden scores and
yeah.
But yeah,
and there's some big dimes too. I think we're going to see some big chunk plays in that game. Some gutsy plays there. So yeah, and then if you even go into like the 49ers Chiefs, I think that's going to be a down to a field goal. Like it's going to be a time of possession kind of deal.
You still don't have Christian McCaffrey, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
You would have never thought that what thought to be, game time decision week 1 would lead to here he is in week 7 still not playing.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, so hope you guys are excited for this upcoming games tomorrow. It's I don't know if we've touched on any one game, 2 games, or whatever that's going on in college right now. Is there anything that kind of stood out to you today with some of those games?
Other than Texas getting run out of the building.
I did notice that, yeah.
And then Alabama lost again. So Alabama loses to Tennessee. So that shakes up things. Michigan loses to Illinois. They're basically out with 3 losses. There's 0 chance that, 3 losses and they still have to play Penn State and Ohio State. And so that is not looking to be a very good season on the heels of winning the national championship this year. But you will not have an undefeated team this year because Texas is your last undefeated, and they are apparently it was 23-8 last I looked. So getting beat at home by a Georgia team that I think is still the best in the country. I thought Georgia was best. I really thought I was shocked what Alabama did to them. Even though they did come back and make it extremely close at the end, I was still very shocked to see what an Alabama team did to them. And then Alabama loses to Vanderbilt and now Tennessee. So that is kind of crazy how college football is lining up right now. But with the expanded playoffs, the 1 loss isn't going to hurt Texas. They'll still be there.
Quick question about Texas. Quick question about Texas. Their quarterback is not Archie, right? It's
he played. Quinn Ewers got hurt in week 2 and missed like 3 weeks, and Manning came in and did phenomenal. Well, they went back to Ewers last week for the Oklahoma game. He looked really rough coming out. They just thought it was rust, and now he's looked really rough tonight. So I would not be surprised if Manning maybe comes in and takes back over. If he's not playing now, I wouldn't be shocked to see if maybe they go back to Manning to see if they can spark that. Manning has come out and said he's going to stay for all 4 years because NIL money. Why not?
Yeah.
And you can kind of pick and choose which draft class you want to go into, where you're going to be drafted higher. Why would you come out this year when you got Shadir Sanders and Ewers and all these guys coming out? The guy from Miami. This is going to be a pretty stacked class. So why come out now? Why not wait a couple years, make some money, play for Texas, maybe win a national championship, and then go when you can project yourself to be the number 1 quarterback and make there.
Oh man.
So right now Ewers was playing tonight. Like I said, I don't know if they switched over or not. Oh, look at this. 23-15 with 12 minutes to go in the game.
Huh.
The Longhorns put up 15 in the 3rd and shut Georgia out.
Oh, dang. So now it's game. Now it's a game. Huh. That's pretty wild.
Georgia's 4th and goal on the Texas 1, so that could change there. Ewers is 13 of 22 for 107 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. So it does not look like
Manning is in the game.
Played. No, it doesn't look like he has played. Oh, maybe he did. Arch Manning's 3 of 6 for 19 yards. So maybe they did switch over, or maybe they're just kind of rotating in and out.
Yeah,
So
that's possible. I see that.
That'll be an interesting finish. Well, it's 30-15 now. Georgia just scored.
Oh, geez.
So
it was a game.
30-15. I mean, 15 points with 12 minutes. There's still plenty of time left, but that is a whole lot closer than it was. All right. Let's transfer over to Major League Baseball. We have 2 championship series going on, both of them coming down to the end.
Cleveland right now is 2, Yankees 2. It's still tied, middle of the 8th, going into the bottom of the 8th.
Right.
So Yankees are up 3-1.
Yes. The Yankees could clinch the berth to the World Series tonight. The Dodgers are up 3-2 in that series, going back to LA for the last 2 games tomorrow and Monday. It looks like a collision course for Dodgers Yankees, which we thought probably, I don't know how you thought, but I kind of thought that would be how it all played out in the long run to begin with.
I'm not okay. So I'm not really much to go like, oh man, we're if I've seen a lot of crazy stuff. I remember 2004,
right,
when the Yankees were, hey, all we gotta do is win a game. We couldn't win a game. So it was just, I remember these strange things that happened. So I never really say, oh man, this is the easiest way through. Like I look at it like these teams are here. There is no easy route. There is no. They're here for a reason.
Coming
no,
the way they came.
No, and there's no easy route to anything, and it's especially with baseball, it can change at one swing. One.
Oh yeah, that game the other night was crazy.
Yeah, and that's just how it is. And so when you take a look at what's going on with the Dodgers, I mean, you got the Mets battling back. Like they are scrapping, they are fighting to try to win each game and go. And so I mean, nothing's easy, even for them, even the amazing Dodgers. So.
Yeah. With $1.7 billion payroll.
Yeah. So, somebody, I'll put that on here. Somebody had a comment. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, right now it's like it's fun to watch. I haven't really been paying attention to the NL side, obviously, because I'm really focused on the Yankees and what they're doing. So it's been exhausting. So I've been pretty much having a heart attack every day in these games. It's been a very strange series. Today we have what is it? Bybee goes 4 innings, 5 innings, which has not happened. All the starters for Cleveland to this point, 2 innings out.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay.
He made a change the other night when that guy, he looked great. 2 innings, 5 strikeouts. Yeah, you're done. What? 5 strikeouts and 6 batters, and you pulled him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Break a sweat?
Yeah. And it's so weird. And I'm like, okay, well, that's how they play. And that's how people have talked about this Guardians team. They will just use their bullpen. Like, that's their way, that's their path.
They leaned on that all postseason, all season.
Yeah. And again, it's like, yeah, sure, got you to this point. Why not keep doing that, I guess? Today, they changed it up a bit. They went to the bullpen, but it was more of like normal.
The announcers were questioning in Game 5 against Detroit. They were like, this is early. They're like, how is he going to bridge the gap?
Yeah.
But to get to, we get 7, 8, 9, but how does he get there?
Yeah.
And Clase ended up having to come in and do 8 and 9, and they're like, yeah, I wouldn't do that again. Like, let's not do that. But
Yeah, so it's just it's fascinating. It's been a weird series. Yesterday
right,
was a weird game.
right.
I
Yeah, I
remember,
I kind of
like
gave up on it a little early, and then I look, and it looked like Cleveland came back and
yeah,
made a run, and really almost tried to win it.
yeah, and it's on some weird stuff. I mean, some of the things that Yankees have been prone to do in the season is some weird stuff in the
Yep.
base paths, some strange. Transfer the ball to first, and it goes right through a Gold Glover first baseman and Anthony Rizzo,
Right.
right through his freaking legs. That's it. Okay, well, that's weird. Things like that, bobbled error, some things like that in the infield, and it's like, yeah, it's
Well, and
overthrown
Cleveland
ball or
and Cleveland has that game won. You know, their shortstop's a Gold Glover. He goes, if he hits a pop up, it hits his glove and goes
sure,
into right field.
yeah.
2 runs score.
But you know what though? The weird part is, as much as it's like, oh wow, that's just horrible. I don't know how many playoff games I've seen kind of like that. Playoffs are different. It's a different deal. Like you have these moments where you have players that now are in a situation that where you're stacking pressure on them, and no matter how good they are, they can easily make a mistake. It
Yep.
doesn't matter how good they've been. It doesn't matter. All those season stats at that point are
Out the window.
gone.
Yep.
They mean nothing. They mean absolutely nothing. Giancarlo Stanton's a prime example. He has been a struggling, streaky kind of player. But in the postseason, I don't know why, he's a different player. He hits the home runs. And I know I'm gonna bring this up. Ryan kept saying, "Oh man, he's gonna cost you a game because he can't run." He's not a fast dude. Like, I don't know what to say, but we
Yeah.
cannot not have his bat in the lineup. He's got to be in there. He's a DH, which means he's not running out in the outfield doing stuff.
Nope.
So if he gets me a home run in the 9th inning, but in the 8th inning or the 7th inning, he grounded out and didn't make it, and they threw him out at first, I'll take it. Right. So it's kind of a you give or take.
The
And
risk
again,
reward.
right, it is.
The reward way outweighs the risk of not
Exactly.
having it in
Exactly. So, I mean, I look at it like it's interesting. This ALCS has been fascinating. Cleveland and Yankees, they've played each other so many freaking times. It's insane. This team's pesky. They've always been that way. Every time we have to play them, it's like that. And so, they claw, they scratch. Jose Ramirez. Every time I see him come to the plate, I'm nervous. So it's interesting. It's fascinating. It's still tied right now, bottom of the second, 1 out. This game is going to be won in a weird way, just like they've been won.
night.
So,
right.
I don't know what it is with the closer, but the closer can't seem to pitch against New York. They're the one team that he struggles with, which is fascinating. So we'll see. I think the Yankees will win it.
That's just like Chapman, who couldn't beat Houston.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
He could be dominating against the whole league. He comes in against Houston, and it's like,
oh yeah. And so it's I don't want to sit there and say that the Yankees are going to win it and go all the way, but their chances are high. You're up 3-1. Chances are real high.
Right.
And you're going to have to go back. Cleveland needs to go back, and they need to win the rest of the games. Their backs are to the wall every game now. And so it's back to New York if they lose.
And does your pitching have enough? Have you leaned on it too much?
Yeah.
These guys burned out. These guys in the back end of the bullpen aren't used to pitching 30, 40 innings. They're not pitching every day, and you're really going to lean on them to do that. So
here's a weird stat about the game yesterday. 2 of the starting pitchers yesterday hadn't pitched a game earlier than 19 days. So they were 19 days, and one guy was like 20-something days since they had last pitched. That was going to be a weird game. It was like, well, that's really odd. And both of them have never played in a postseason game. Really weird. It's just
you don't normally see.
Yeah, exactly. So this has been I think this has been more competitive and more of a must watch than what's going on in the NL.
Format that they came up with the last 2 years has been amazing.
Yeah.
Teams that got the bye, they come into the deal, they get eliminated because they maybe got some rust. Teams that have been fighting to get in the wild card have caught fire and fight their way in. Detroit, that show with Magic, you kind of hoped that they would make it, but they fall one game short of beating Cleveland. But yeah, this has been absolutely this new format and this new extra wild card. It gives everybody hope up until you had meaningful games up until you had to play a double header that had rained out, and you had to play that on game 163 just to see who got in.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks are sitting there waiting to see if one team sweep, because if one team sweep, they would have gotten in. And the Diamondbacks the Diamondbacks left out because the Mets and Braves split on day 163. It's been interesting all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of like the other side of this, Mets Dodgers. I mean, one game is like, it just seems like a lot of blowout games.
A lot of offense in that series. There's a lot of offense in that series.
Yeah.
And it seems to be whoever scores first and whoever has a big inning is going to run away and hide. And so we'll see if the Mets can win in LA twice.
In LA, right.
That's going to be a very, very tough task because eventually you're going to face Yamamoto in one of those games, I would assume.
Well, and the thing about all this stuff too, and this goes with both sides, the ALCS and the NLCS. All these guys have to play. I mean, Yamamoto is a great player, and everybody's kind of, but he's got to also be there. If he makes a mistake, even a couple of innings, it could be a disastrous situation. So I mean, that's
the weird. They left Flaherty way too long last night.
Yeah, and that's the thing is even with all these games going on, these guys got to play, and a lot of people want to get onto Boone and some of the decisions he makes sometimes, but I'm like, guys still have to play, man. Like, and so overall, it's been fun to watch, at least the AL part. I still am afraid of I just want to get through this and enjoy it. And if they can win this, then great. If we got to win it the next game, then fine, or whichever in New York. But overall, it's been fun. It's been a fun series with Cleveland. It's been crazy, and this game looks like it's going to be even more crazy. So, and then with the NL, I don't know, man. I am absolutely
I wouldn't want to go to Game 7. I'll tell you that.
I'm terrified. The Dodgers terrify me. I don't know why, but it's everything. There's so many pieces to that team that you have to watch out for. And, the Mets are also scary. I mean, we haven't really played well against the Mets, so it's interesting. In terms of what I think, not that I am saying I want the Yankees to just go and do it. I'm just saying, and I think it's a more competitive series with the Yankees, whether or not it's the Dodgers or the Mets.
I want somebody who can beat them because I don't want them to win.
And I think Cleveland, I worry that I don't think Cleveland could beat those two teams.
$1.7 billion payroll to not pay off. And I think the manager gets fired on the spot if they lose, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, we got a lot more baseball to go, so we still have these series have to be finished, and so it's still tied. Yankee game's still tied, so we'll see what happens. I think Noel is up to bat right now, so big Christmas.
That homer he hit the other night still hasn't landed, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? And that's the other thing too. I think that pitch was an absolute mistake. And he even said when it left his hand, he knew he left it up. And I'm like, oh gosh. So he was sitting on changeup. He was sitting on.
I thought he did it again last night, but it just fell just a little.
You know what's weird about that? The way that they did the camera angle on that, you would have thought that ball was way out. Like you would have been like, oh wow.
At least hit the wall.
But it was
all of a sudden he catches it.
Yeah, Verdugo had it, and I'm like, that wasn't as. Why did the camera angle do that? I was like, that's weird.
And he's like down the line. I'm like, yeah, fair or foul, and then all of a sudden it's in Verdugo's glove. I'm like, well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's see what else we got. You got some hockey stuff you want to bring up, or?
Oh yeah, your teams from last year who were very, very good. Edmonton is struggling completely. I mean, you had you had a goalie the other night score a goal, and he had more goals than your MVP from last year. Colorado's hasn't had a win yet this year. I think Edmonton only has one win this year. The Stars are 5-1 and really should be 6-0 outside of a fluke goal that they let up. The Dallas Stars are going to be something to watch this year. That head coach has got them. They've got guys signed now long term. There's no contract disputes. I really wish they would have done it before Pavelski retired. That's a shame. But this team's going to be dangerous this year. They're very good defensively. Their offense is they're averaging 3 or 4 goals a game, and that is with an absolute abysmal power play that is 1 for 21 right now. So they beat Edmonton today 4-1. They look absolutely on fire, and that is they've played more games in October than some of these other teams have played. There's other teams that have only played 2 or 3 games, and they played 6. So they're going to have some time off somewhere in the season to recover, but they're gonna travel about 4,500 miles in the month of October to play the games that they play. So they're getting their travel done early, and they look really good. So I'm very, very interested to. I'm kind of transitioning into hockey. With the Cowboys being as rough as they are. So
it's fascinating. I mean, I think that the one thing that I just say with the Stars, you gotta get over the hump.
Right.
You always get to that point, and then
they've been to the conference finals 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
and have fallen short. And so I believe this year will hopefully be the year that you can do it. They're young. That's the one good thing about not getting over the hump is they're so young.
Right.
That I think that they're going to be good for an extended period of time. They just signed Ottinger for 8 years. They've signed some of these other kids they've got Rupe Hintz for till 2030. They've got there's 2 more guys in Robertson and Wyatt Johnston that are going to be next on the list. But Jim Nill, who's been the GM of the year, or whatever you call that, in the executive of the year for the last 2 years running in the NHL, is I believe you have full confidence. It's not like when the Dallas Cowboys are doing contract negotiations. When he does contract negotiations, they're going to get done. So I see no reason why they don't get those guys extended and they become really, really good. For a long time.
A lot more hockey to be played. So it's just started.
You got the NBA coming right around the corner. So it'll be a really good time of year to watch those and talk about those.
Excited about the Mavericks. I watched a little bit of the preseason game just to kind of see a couple pieces I wanted to watch for the Mavericks.
Had a very disappointing game the other night. Was 0 for 6 or 7 from behind the arc and 0 from the field.
I mean, I think it's a lot of it is Luka also isn't playing. So that's interesting. I mean, he's been kind of hasn't been playing in the preseason game, so that's understandable. The guy's going to be on.
With his injury history, you don't want him playing, and then
Yeah, the guy's going to be on. I'm not even worried about that.
As long as he's in shape when he gets there, that's all you care about.
Seems to be, from what I could tell, he seemed to be in shape. So I think I saw a picture of him right before they started training and all that kind of stuff before the preseason just really started, and he looked in shape. So we'll see. I'm excited. I'm probably going to get League Pass because I don't live I can't watch them, on the other stuff. So I'll probably pay attention. We're going to probably be more focused on them this year because last year was so exciting and also heartbreaking. But I'm excited. I'm excited this year. I like Dinwiddie coming back and seeing, I just want to see what Jason Kidd does with this lineup. So
right. Has a lot more weapons this year. All right. Well, I think we've come to about the part of the show where we discuss what's in our locker. So, Jeff, what's in your locker?
Just trying to get through these last few. I've worked basically this last month. I've worked. I've done some projects and stuff for a couple other people. I work at my normal job. Um, Kind of excited for fall. I love fall. It's like my favorite time of year. Um, so went and saw some of the fall colors and stuff the other day. Um, and trying to it's like wanting to be fall here, and every now and then it gets in the 70s, so it does like a 50-70 kind of deal sometimes. So I think the mountains got some snow, so that's nice to see. um and gearing up because I am coming there the week of Thanksgiving, so I will be in town seeing some family and stuff for Thanksgiving, and being going around the DFW area. So haven't been back in a few years, so it's gonna be interesting to see what's changed. Last time it grew, and that was only a year. So this time it's been like 3. So it'll be fascinating, but excited to get to the holiday season. It's like my favorite, so I that's kind of it. Baseball, obviously, I just I want to win this. I want to get to the World Series, so I'm real focused on that. Um, Football, surprising win. I didn't think we would beat the Saints like that. I know our defense is pretty good, but offenses, you never really know what can happen offensively. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see Sean Payton back there in New Orleans and playing against his old team, or at least coaching against his old team. I like Bo Nix. I like what I'm seeing. I think he's learning. I like the back and forth him and Sean Payton have. He challenges him, and Sean Payton challenges Bo. So it's very interesting, and I think it's healthy. Russell Wilson kind of just sat back and let Sean Payton just scream at him. And Bo Nix isn't going to do that. I like the fight in him. I like the fight in the team. So whether or not we do anything this year or not, I don't know. But yeah, I've been focused on them, been focused on this baseball stuff. And yeah, just trying to get through these the holidays and get to kind of relax with some family coming up here soon. So that's what's in my locker. What's in your locker, Rick?
Well, it's good to know that you'll be in town. Maybe you can get together if you
Yeah,
have some time on your agenda.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I definitely like the fight in Knicks, like you were saying. The comeback on the sidelines the other day was very very interesting and very nice to see where he went back at Peyton, and then how they handled it in the press conference was, you know, oh, he just said he loved me, and I said I loved him too. So really, work's been busy, and we're starting to calm down a little bit. Getting into hunting season, I think probably we may go one more time for bow season with my brother, but if not, November is really when, early part of November, I've got a couple trips scheduled to go, and I just really enjoy that. Speaking of the fall weather, Texas normally does not have that, and it has been cooler. 50s in the morning and high of 80s, and I believe that's what got Brian uh, to where he doesn't have a voice. Was we don't normally have that kind of weather here, and so it's been cooler in the mornings and not sweltering in the afternoon. So that has been a very very unexpected but nice change of pace. You can actually kind of sit outside and enjoy the weather and everything like that. Like I said, I'm looking forward to hockey. I love watching baseball. I watch all these games. I'll probably go finish watching the end of this one when we're done here because it looks like it's probably going to still be going when we're done. So I'm looking forward to some hunting trips and work calming down, maybe take another a vacation around the holidays and take some time off. I absolutely love this time of year with Thanksgiving and Christmas, um, and just being around. My parents are here, and my brother and my sister, and getting to spend time with them for the holidays is nice. Having my parents back from Carolina for the last few years has been really nice to have Thanksgiving, all together and watch football and everything like that. So other than that, that's about all I've got. So
How's
we will be
the
back.
how's the bowling been?
Oh, actually, Wednesday night was fun. I went 200, 276, 252 for 730, and yeah,
Dang.
starting to come together.
Dang.
Yeah, had an extremely good week. We actually had a team building exercise. The guys from work chose bowling to go do that, and what do? But I drag all my stuff inside the bowling alley, and they're like, "What is all this?" I'm like, "I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come fully prepared. Sorry, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Rolled 6 bowling balls into the bowling alley and took no prisoners. So I was like, "You guys chose it." So yeah, that was fun. That was where I was last Saturday, and why I couldn't really get on with you guys. But so yeah, that was a good time. Is they chose bowling and put a big flyer out there with me on the flyer and everything. It's the special guest. So yeah, we're getting into that, and I really get to enjoy that because I get to bowl with my dad, and so that's some time that we get to spend together, and we're really starting to come into the. We started off slow, but we've really made some big strides the last few weeks. So I enjoy being able to do that on Wednesday nights.
Sweet. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we will be back Tuesday night. Hopefully, Brian is feeling better. If not, we'll see. Maybe me and Jeff can jump on again and cover this weekend's games, and by then we will know who will be in the World Series, and go from there. But until Tuesday night, God bless and
Keep it outspoken. Sweet.